In this video, we will be covering the scenario 2 for the pivot charts. So instead of having to create a fresh pivot table, what you can do is you can just come to this current spreadsheet that you are working in and then just hold down Control. You can click, hold and drag to the right and you can see that we end up with this little black arrow. And now just let go of mouse. And as you can see, we have ended up with a duplicate. So now what we can do is we can just manipulate what we have here instead of having to start again. So I'm just going to select this chart because we don't need it anymore. And I'll just delete this chart and also these slicers. So I'll just select them and press delete. And for the pivot table, what I would like to do is bring the salesperson into the rows. So I'll just click, hold and drag the salesperson into the rows. And I'll just click, hold and drag and pull the area out. And also I'll pull out the net profits. And I want to bring in the total sales in the values. So what I would like to do in this scenario is to find out the top 10 best performing salespersons. And also a chart to represent that data as well. So first of all, I'm going to just change the title for this spreadsheet here. So I'll just double click here. Top 10 sales persons, and that's looking good. The thing is, we have a lot of salespersons here. We have 50 salespersons, and if I were to insert a chart with this data here, so I'll just leave my pivot table selected and come to pivot table analyze and click on pivot chart. Just looking at a few of these examples, I would say that there's just a little too much data to represent. So as per the titles, this is for the top 10 salespersons. So what I'm going to do is bring in a slicer to narrow down the top 10 people. So for now, I'll just click on cancel to get rid of this insert chart option. And I'll click on insert slicers. And the slicer I want is this item here, the total sales. So I'll just check that on and click OK. And I'll just place it here and I'll just make it a little bigger so that it's easier to manage. Now I'll just scroll down to the bottom and I'll just select one and hold down Control and select the other 9 amounts. And as you can see, now we have the top 10 salespersons. So let's insert a chart to represent this data. So I'll just select my table here, come to pivot table analyze, click on pivot charts. At the moment it's set to clustered column chart, which actually I think is probably the best option. So I'll just select the clustered chart and click on OK. So I'll just put my slicer to the right and I'll put my chart up here. So straight away I'm just going to right click here and click on hide all field buttons on the chart. And I'll quickly give this a title, which is top 10 sales persons. And I'll come to this chart style and I'm going to choose maybe different style just to improve the chart a little bit. So I'm just going for something like this one here. And I'll just select this item here and press delete because I don't think there's a need for this item. And this is looking pretty good. And like I said, I don't want to go into too much formatting, but I'll just select these items here, these elements, and select them and come to the home and make them bold. And I'll do the same with these also. I'll just select them and make them bold. So with that our chart is done. And if we really wanted to, we could insert a slicer, and I'll just get rid of this for now. And as I was saying, that we could insert a slicer for salespersons themselves. So I'll just select my table, come to pivot table analyze, insert slicer, check the box for salesperson and click OK. I'll just place it here. So let's just select a single person and see how they are performing. So for now I'll just select this Bill Young. You can see how the chart changes as well. And let's now select multiple people. So just hold down your control and select multiple people. So I'll select Bonnie Gardner, Jennifer French, Michael Wilkins, and Pat Williams. And I'll just let go of my control. Just remember to hold down controls when you are selecting multiple items. And now I have a breakdown of their data. But what I'm going to do for now is just reset this filter, and I'll just leave this filter here because we need the top 10 people, and I'll leave it like that. Let's move on to the third chart. If you remember what we did before, you can just click, hold and drag the spreadsheet while holding down the control to make a duplicate. So in this third scenario, I'm just going to first of all delete these items. So I'll just select the chart, delete that, and select these slicers and also delete them. So now within the pivot table fields, I want to bring in once again the area. And I'll click, hold and drag and pull this salesperson out. And also the sum of total sales. And I'm going to bring in the table sold into the values, chair sold, cabinet sold, and TV stand sold. So I would say that this isn't too much data for a chart. So let's just go ahead and insert our chart. So with the pivot table selected, come to pivot table analyze and click on pivot chart. Now if I were to select a chart, I would probably go for clustered column chart once again. But I do want to have just a bit more variety for the sake of the tutorial. So I'm going to go for the bar chart. And actually I would say that the bar chart is very similar to the column chart, and it's just working in a horizontal plane rather than a vertical. So we are just going to go for the bar chart. So I have selected that option and I'll click on OK. And to get rid of these field buttons, just right click on them and click on hide all field buttons on the chart. And straight away I would say that this is looking pretty good. But I think we can do maybe a little better. What we could do is, I think we could insert a title, but I don't think there's enough room. But come to think of it, when we build our dashboard, which will be in the next tutorial, I think it would be best to have a title. So I'll come to the chart elements and I'll just check on the chart title. And I'll just change the title to items sold per area. So just looking at the chart style option, let's see what is available. I would say that this one here probably looks the best because not only do you have the figures, you also have them within the bars as well. And I think this is a good idea. So I'll just select this option here and we will stick to this chart. So the next thing to do now is insert a slicer. As I've already mentioned, it's better to choose items from these areas here. So with the chart selected, come to the pivot chart analyze and click on insert slicers. And then you can just check on area and maybe chairs sold as well. And let's see what we can do with this. So I'll just click on OK. I'll just put them here. Let's see what happens if we set the chairs sold to 8. So I can see what's going on here. I mean, the person who views this information would probably have a decent idea of what is going on. I could see that the east is the area that has the record for selling chairs. So what I'll do is I'll just reset the filter here. So let's just do this one more time. And this time maybe with the tables. So select the chart, come to pivot table analyze, insert slicers, select the tables sold and click OK. So let's see which area have sold the most tables. So I'll just scroll down to this and select this one. So this tells me that the other two regions have never had a single day where they have actually sold 9 tables. So I can see it's south and the north, and obviously it's the north that is winning because they have sold a total of 27, which is kind of an indicator that 3 salespersons on at least one day have sold 9 tables, and 9 times 3 equals 27. So I'll just reset this filter. Okay, so that's pretty much for the scenarios. So what I'll do is I'll just delete this table sold because we don't need it right now. So I'll just delete that and we'll just stick with these two slicers here. So yeah, the last thing I'll do is just give this the correct title. So I'll just double click here and type in items sold per area. Okay, so I think everything is looking pretty good at this moment. We have our pivot tables, charts and accompanying slicers. The next thing we are going to do now is build something called a dashboard. And there's nothing really fancy about this. All we're going to be doing is copying and pasting all the work that we have already done. So that's what we will be doing in the next tutorial.